Alrighty then. Successful Indie Author 5-Minute Focus, episode 527, hiring an editor. I know I've done an episode on this before, but I may not have been as smooth as this episode will be. And no, Stanley's not in here. We just came back from a walk, and he was a little bit miffed because I used my inhaler, having a problem breathing, and sucked in something. There was something in my inhaler, and that caused the most violent coughing attack that my tongue still hurts from coughing so hard. But I did survive it without dying, and I'm here. So here we are. Hiring an editor. Conduct auditions. Get a sample edit, and do it with more than one. Make sure you get 2 or 3 different people. Your first 500 words, get an edit, and just see what kind of changes, what kind of recommendations your editor makes. I did this once, kind of a jerk move, an edited text that was already good, and used that one and saw what kind of changes editors made, and realized that the editor I had used was the best one I had. So the new editors, no, it's like they were changing stuff just to change stuff. That doesn't work. So, except that some editors aren't good, and that means they aren't a good fit for you. They may be good for somebody, but not you. Technical perfection. If somebody adheres to the Chicago school or the one of the other schools of editing, they may do things differently. And especially if you have competing schools, you're going to have competing use of commas. And one person added in commas, I had a second edit done, and the other person removed all the commas that the other person had put in. So 2 different paid editors, one added commas, the other one removed them. So who was right? The reader. I tell you what, I'm sure half of my edits that I get done, a reader would never notice. And I know that because I publish a fair amount of stuff that I don't have edited, that just goes through my insider team, and they read and check the typos and make sure that I don't have a missing quotation mark and stuff like that. And I never get bagged on bad grammar or mistakes. It's usually fine. It's usually well written. I get that comment a lot, and I like it. Except that some editors will make you better. And this is why you should always stay at the front edge of your editing and don't get too comfortable. Make sure your editor is challenging you, such as they can pick out a paragraph and say it's not as smooth as it should be. This is kind of hard to read. My editor does that. She'll just say that. Kind of hard to read. All right, I'll take a look. And since it will have been a while since I finished that book, 2 weeks, a month, then I'm looking at it with fresh eyes, and I appreciate that stuff. Just, could be smoother. All right, good enough. I can look at that. You have to put your ego aside, because your ego is not going to help you unless you had 20 years of education in writing. Your ego is going to stand in the way of a good story, and you may try to fix stuff that doesn't need fixed and not fix stuff that does, because you think you know what you wrote. Well, you do. You know what you wrote, but you don't know exactly how the... Alrighty then. If you're following live, I just look like I froze. But if you just watch the recording, all of a sudden I'll go from one thing and to, hey, he's drinking coffee. How'd that happen? Well, yeah, a 1-minute delay. Anyway, you have to put your ego aside. Now, one thing about your editors, they have a fiduciary duty. Fiduciary responsibility means like a lawyer and a client, or a doctor and a patient, that they're not supposed to reveal what they talk about. So your editor, you have that exact same fiduciary relationship, and they shouldn't be sharing, oh my God, Craig Martelle sent me this title, and you should see it, and then start sharing quotes and show how bad it was written in the first place. No, they should not be doing that, and any editor that does should not be in the business. They need to get a quick attitude check and stop doing that. Fiduciary duty, think about that. And I've actually never heard of anyone, besides maybe sharing a paragraph out in the middle of nowhere where you can't tell who did what, but still, don't do it. If you're an editor, don't do it. If you're an author, make sure your editor doesn't do it to you. Now, you have to be willing to learn. Why are they recommending those changes, especially when you get your first 500 words or 1,000 words, whatever they offer? Why are they making those changes? And there's a reason. And this is where you carry on that conversation. Hey, this looks okay to me. It reads okay. Why did you make this change? Help me understand. Help me understand is a great question to get more information and understand why. it doesn't read right, or it's nobody talks that way. Hey, I hate that when we get dialogue changes. And my editor, she always just makes a recommendation. She does not make the straight changes within dialogue, because that drives me nuts. I'm trying to have a certain voice for the characters, and if you steal that voice by making everybody sound like they're talking perfectly, then you're not going to get there from here. You need to give them little foibles, and please don't correct my dialogue foibles, and my current editor does not. So that's a long learning process. So as you go through an editor, is it a proofreader who's just making sure you get the commas and your grammar matches up, your tense aspects are good, or are you a cursory examination, or are you getting a depth of writing? And my editor does the great proofreading, great grammar check, but also will say, is this really what you want to say? Or this character sounds out of character. And those help immensely. So I get that in-depth look because I give them a pretty clean manuscript to begin with. So hiring an editor, you give them the absolute best manuscript you can give them. You get a test edit, and you look and try to understand why. Put your ego aside and understand that they're not going anywhere else to tell everybody what an idiot you are and how badly you write. That's not good. They won't do that. So trust that they're going to protect your privacy and not share anything you sent out in that first draft. And if they can help make you better, then that's a good editor. Better writer, better storyteller, and better technical aspects so people can say, hey, it's well written. I like the ones that say, I didn't find any mistakes. Why are you looking for mistakes when you're reading a book? Come on, man. Just read the story. All right. Editor, they'll help you out. Good one. Give them a test run and see how they work for you. Peace, fellow humans.